Was Nancy Pelosi playing hangman there? What was she doing? She was never looked up at the president. Of course, that was President Trump tonight on how his administration has taken dangerous terrorists off the battlefield. Well, my next guest is one of the men leading the effort behind the scenes to make our country safer. I'm so happy he's with us. Robert O'Brien, National Security Advisor to President Trump, joining me now. First time in the Ingram Angle. Ambassador O'Brien, it's great to see you. How important is it for the president to continue to signal to the rest of the world that this aggressive American response, but measured, appropriate, will never cease?
It's incredibly important. We have Americans who are business people overseas, lawyers overseas, aid workers overseas, missionaries and priests overseas. They have to be protected. And when these terrorists think they can attack us with impunity, they've learned that under President Trump, those days are over.
Were you surprised at the Democrats' reaction? It's like they had rocks in their pants. They couldn't get up even at these moments that, I mean, I keep saying this. I've been in this town for way too long. When Reagan would give a State of the Democrats would stand up at moments like that. What's changed?
You know, it's a polarized town. It's sad because there are certain things that everybody should get behind. The fact that the military is being rebuilt, the fact that our servicemen and women are fighting wars overseas, those are things that ought to be beyond partisanship. When we take out terrorists that are killing Americans, those are things that we all ought to be able to rally around. I certainly was pleased when President Obama took out Osama bin Laden. That was a great night for America, and I was happy for him and happy for the country. And we need that to come back.
When Pelosi's ripping up the speech, a friend of mine just told me like that. That's Pelosi ripping up the stories of these Americans.
Well, and some of those stories were fantastic. As I told you earlier, I had the honor, previous to this job, working as the hostage envoy for the administration. I got to know the Mueller family, and I had Carl and Marcia Mueller in the office this afternoon. It was great to see them honored and see their daughter, who was held as a slave to al-Baghdadi. Unspeakable things were done to her, and then she was ultimately murdered by al-Baghdadi. And it was great that the president was able to declassify and tell the story of the task force being named after her by the special operators that brought justice to him.
Last week we had Kellyanne Conway on the show, and she expressed her concern that there were still people burrowed into the West Wing, or into National Security Council particularly, who were working against the president's agenda and who were not helpful to the administration. Are you concerned about that?
You know, look, it's something that concerns me because when you work at the NSC, you're on the personal staff of the president. And so it's always disappointing to me when I hear that there are people who believe their job is to resist the democratically elected president of the United States. I mean, they're there as his personal staff. If he can't rely on them to implement his policies, the policies the American people elected him to fulfill.
So are you cleaning house?
Look, what I said when I came to the NSC is that I would drastically downsize it. It had ballooned up to 236 policy professionals from 100 under Condi Rice. We're going to get back to the Condi Rice, Steve Hadley NSC, and we're very close to being there. Another week or two, I think we'll have met our goals.
Not Condi Rice in agenda, but Condi Rice in size?
Condi Rice in size. I mean, when I spoke with Condi, she said we were fighting the global war on terror, Afghanistan, Iraq, and everything else, and we did it with 100 policy professionals. We're trying to get back to that size.
And did it grow under John Bolton? Or?
Primarily under President Obama. It really ballooned up from about 110 to 236 policy professionals. I kind of laugh when President Kennedy took office. He fired all of Dwight Eisenhower's policy professionals, I think 70 of them at the NSC, and got along with 12 people. He handled the Cuban Missile Crisis with 12 policy professionals. So it's bloated. We're going to bring it back to a size that's manageable and efficient. And look, the folks who are there really need to want to serve the president.
The John Bolton book, Vanity Fair, saying that Trump says a source wants Bolton to be criminally investigated for possibly mishandling classified info. Romney, Schiff, and Nadler are also in West Wing crosshairs. What do you know about that?
Yeah, you know, look, I'm the national security advisor. I'm not Bill Barr or Pat Cipollone or the folks who are looking at those issues. But what I will say is that when you come to work in the White House and you're exposed to the nation's most sensitive secrets, classified, compartmented information, you have a sacred duty to keep that information private and confidential. And whether it was Ambassador Bolton or others that have sensitive information, top secret information, they need to protect it. And so you know that's.
Doesn't look like he did protect it. It looks like he's writing a book and there's lots of stuff in it that shouldn't be in it.
Yeah, you know that's something that I think that'll get sorted out over time. But
you're not writing a book after you leave.
I'm not writing a tell-all book.
Coronavirus, China letting you in or not to help?
So China's now letting the WHO in, and we'll have a component. We'll have U.S. doctors on the WHO team, and we want to help them. Look, we want to stop the virus. It's a very serious issue in China. A lot of people are dying. I think there are over 17,000 people are infected, over 400 deaths, and that's what we know about. So we certainly want to help them get that under control. We don't want this to turn into a global pandemic.
Ambassador O'Brien, thank you for joining us tonight.
Great
busy time for you, and we really appreciate your service to this country. And my final